year was 1961. The Dasara festival was approaching and Professor Kasturi, the blessed editor of Sanatana Sarathi, was putting together the issue for that month. It was customary to have a beautiful picture of Swami in the first few pages of every issue. And it was one of the reasons devotees would eagerly await the journal. He had planned to have 2 pictures for this issue. One of Mother Goddess with the caption Durga Mata, and the other of Swami with the caption Sathya Sai Mata. When he showed this to Swami, he said, "Have it as Sathya Mata instead." Swami explained, pointing to himself, "For this is the Sathya Mata, the true mother. All worldly mothers are only Mithya Mata, unreal that appear to be real." What a profound declaration. Professor Kasturi must have recalled his first visit to Puttaparthi in the late 1940s. When his wife approached Swami asking permission to leave for home, Swami, who was barely 25 years old, most lovingly asked her to stay another day, saying, "Today is Friday, and you should not leave your mother's home on a Friday." Years later, the then Prime Minister of India, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, was told the same. As he was taking leave of Swami, he asked, "Aapke ghar kabhi-kabhi aa sakta hoon? Swami, can I please come here to your house now and then?" Patting the Prime Minister endearingly, Swami replied, "Ye tumhari maa ka ghar hai. This is your mother's home. You can come whenever you wish."
Prema Daivambu Jagamella Premamayamu Prema Rupamu Goni Vachi Permi Brova Prema Sudhalanu Chindinchi Prema Gutsu Prema Avatara Sri Devi Sa-ayi Devi Prema Avatara Sri Mata Sa-ayi Mata.
From infants to world leaders, from students to scholars, from prince to pauper, for millions across the globe, Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba is the Divine Mother, their beloved Sai Ma. In fact, in letters that Bhagwan would write to the students and devotees, he would mention, "Sai is your Hridayasthai. It is this Sai who is your Thai, mother, who grants your wishes. He is the Satya Mata who sustains and nourishes all of creation." The worship of the Supreme Divine as the Mother is an ancient tradition in Sanatana Dharma. Earlier, part of the Shakta Sampradaya, this practice has now become integral to Bharatiya culture. The most important Shakta festival, Sharan Navaratri or Dashara, is hence observed across the length and breadth of the subcontinent. Dashara is also one of the first major festivals to be observed in Bhagwan's presence. The festival was celebrated for the first time in the Pata Mandir in 1946. And that celebration was filled with wondrous events. A few days prior to the festival, Swami asked for an empty vessel and rubbed both his hands on top of it. A cascade of vibhuti poured into the vessel from his hands. Swami said that the vibhuti was the ash straight from the dhuni at Shirdi. He instructed that the vibhuti be distributed as prasadam to the devotees during the festival. Some devotees had brought a petrol engine from Tiruchirappalli to serve as a generator, but it was extremely difficult to procure petrol in those days in Puttaparthi. Swami instructed the devotees to fill it with water instead. And lo, the generator provided electricity for the first Dashara celebrations. In the evenings, the devotees took Bhagwan in a procession around the village. Over the next few years, this Dashara procession only became grander. They dressed him in different colors, made floats specific to the form of deity who was to be worshipped on that day. For instance, when they had the peacock palanquin, Swami's dress was more like Lord Subramanya. When it was Garuda, he used to wear the white robe like Lord Vishnu, and so on. They fondly adorned him like they would adorn the mother goddess, with jewelry and silk. They seated him on decked palanquins and chariots and took him in processions. During the processions, he would often shower flower petals on the crowds. Petals that turned into gold or silver medallions bearing his and Shirdi Sai's images, or into peppermints. Also, vibhuti would appear on his forehead, sometimes in 3 distinct lines, and at times forming sacred kumkum marks. Remarkably, many devotees saw Swami not in his usual form, but as the deity they personally revered: Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Durga, and so on. The devotees would narrate how ethereal the sight of Swami seated on the flower-decked palanquin was. So much so, they would sometimes walk backwards in the procession with their eyes fixed on him. And Swami would give directions from his seat. The procession would go well into the middle of the night, and those who carried Swami would wonder where the path had taken them, for it would barely take an hour to go around on regular days. Another feature of the early Dashara celebrations was the Sumangali Puja, or worship to the mother, offered by married women. Venkama Garu, a great devotee and also the physical elder sister of Swami, would recount an experience from one such puja. The women who had assembled in the mandir were performing the Kumkum Archana, and Swami was seated on the throne. The loving feeling that this was her younger brother was perhaps still lingering in her mind when she thought to herself, why should this boy be seated here among women when they perform a Sumangali Puja? But when she looked up, she didn't see him there. She saw a resplendent form of the mother, clad in a grand red silk sari, bedecked with lustrous jewels, sacred haldi smeared on her graceful hands, a large sparkling nose ring and a regal golden crown. Sitting on the throne and showering benediction was the form of goddess Rajarajeshwari. A similar such experience was granted to the lady devotees who wished to perform the Gaja Gauri Puja before Swami. As they concluded the worship, they wanted to give the Vayanam, an offering of betel nuts, fruits, and other items to a Sumangali who would represent Mother Parvati. As they were wondering to whom they should make the offering, they heard Swami say, "Give it to me." And when they looked up, they saw the resplendent form of Mother Gauri holding out the pallu of the beautiful sari she was adorned with. the way the Vayanam is supposed to be received by the Sumangali. Swami permitted these festivities, rituals, and celebrations to draw more devotees through them. He would endearingly ask devotees to stay back and participate in these. Gradually, Swami turned their minds to the inner significance of these observances. While the early Dashera was marked by such processions and pujas, Bhagwan had his own plan for Dashera celebrations of the later years. He had decided to make this significant festival the backdrop to carry out two important aspects of his avataric mission: Veda Samrakshana, protection of the Vedas, and Vidvat Poshana, fostering Vedic scholars. Swami was to visit the Konasima or East Godavari region of Andhra Pradesh in 1962. The devotees prayed to Swami that a yajna be included in the program schedule during his visit. Swami granted them a bigger boon. He said they should celebrate the same yajna in Prashanti Nilayam during Dashera. He also directed them to bring Vedic scholars from all around the country for the same. He said, "My Sima or area is not just Kona Sima, it is Veda Sima, all areas where the Vedas are revered." Thus, in October 1962, the first Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yajna was performed in Bhagwan's presence. Much care was taken to observe all the Vedic injunctions down to the minutest detail. All the materials were carefully collected under Swami's personal supervision. Strangely, only one item prescribed by the scripture was missed while preparing the exhaustive list. On the eve of the yajna, the priest panicked and ran to Swami and said apologetically, "We have missed procuring one very important item, Swami, a kamandalu, a vessel of a particular dimension that is critical for the rituals." Swami reprimanded them but went into his room and returned with a kamandalu precisely matching the requirements. And this kamandalu has an interesting story too. In 1949, during his visit to Hyderabad, Swami stayed at Sriniketan, the home of Rani Lakshmi Bai, the queen of the kingdom of Chincholi. During the stay, Swami told the queen that he had earlier visited their palace at Chincholi. The people in the household were surprised, for it was Swami's first visit to the royal family. Swami clarified that he had visited in his form as Shirdi Baba, and as proof, described a few of the items he had left in the palace. He instructed the queen to look for them when she returned to Chincholi. One of those items was the kamandalu, which she found in a storeroom. Inscribed on the beautiful brass kamandalu were the alphabets in Hindi, Sa, Ba, which Swami explained were the initials of his name, Sai Baba. That kamandalu, which was returned to its true owner, had a role to play in this yajna. Each one of the Vedic Pandits who participated in the yajna had their own journey towards Swami. From skepticism to awe to devotion. Many of the scholars submitted later that they found in Baba the very Veda Purusha they had dedicated their lives to. Their first encounter with Swami was itself something they didn't expect. As they landed in Prashanti Nilayam, they were greeted by Swami himself, who had brought with him a vessel of hot milk. The Veda Mata was herself receiving her children most lovingly. This simple act of love began the process of melting their hearts and transforming their views on Swami. Shri Venkata Subba Shastri of Varangal, who had been conferred the title Advaita Vedanta Shiromani, came as a skeptic but soon turned into an ardent advocate of Swami's divinity. He declared, "I have applied the various tests prescribed by the Shastras and have concluded that Baba is indeed the Bhagavat Avatara Murti." Sri Uppuluri Ganapati Shastri, a 70-year-old scholar, declared that in his 50 years of experience of Vedic yagas and yajnas, he has not had the privilege of witnessing such a scrupulously correct yaga which could pass the most rigorous tests of orthodoxy. And Swami reminded the Ritviks in one of his discourses during the occasion, "I am not the person who is doing this yajna. I am the person who's accepting it." And also went on to emphasize the inner significance of the yajnam, saying, "People say that pouring ghee and other offerings into the fire is a waste. They do not realize that it is like saying a farmer is wasting the seeds by putting them in his fertile land. With time, the farmer is only going to reap a rich harvest. In the same way, chanting mantras and making these offerings is only going to benefit mankind in manifold ways."
ఎట్టి మంటనో అట్టి పొగ, ఎట్టి పొగనో అట్టి మేఘము, ఎట్టి మేఘమో అట్టి వర్షము, ఎట్టి వర్షమో అట్టి పంట, ఎట్టి పంటనో అట్టి వంట, ఎట్టి వంటనో అట్టి బుద్ధి. ఈ మంత్రముతో భగవద్ అర్పితం గావించినటువంటి పొగ మేఘములుగా మారిపోయి పవిత్రమైన మేఘము నుంచి పవిత్రమైనటువంటి జలబిందువులు వచ్చి ఆ వర్షము చేతనే పవిత్రమైనటువంటి పంటలంతా పెరిగి పవిత్రమైన పంటల వల్లనే పవిత్రమైన వంటలంతా మనకు వచ్చి ఈ వంటల వల్లనే పవిత్రమైన గుణములు కూడా మనకు కలుగుతూ వస్తుంటాయి.
Emphasizing the uniqueness of this yajnam in Prashanti, Swami said, "Generally, yajnams are done with some tinge of selfishness, like praying for rain, or removing drought, or to ward off evil effects of planets, and so on. But in Prashanti Nilayam, every yajnam is done with a single objective of Loka Kalyanam, the welfare of all." The Vedic scholars who were thrilled with many such revelations from Bhagwan, and because of what they had experienced personally, wanted to celebrate him in a manner their knowledge saw fitting. And hence, they submitted to Bhagwan that they wished to conduct a Kavi Sammelan called Tribhuvana Vijaya, or Triumph over the Three Worlds, for they saw Bhagwan as manifest divinity who had come for the protection of all the worlds. A Sesha Talpa, or a bed made in the form of the Sesha serpent of Vaikuntha, was brought by a devotee in Mumbai. Months before, she had a vision of Swami as Narayana reclining on the Adishesha. So she got it made and brought it to Prashanti Nilayam, and it turned out to be the most appropriate for the event. The Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yajna continues to be an important part of Dashara celebrations in Prashanti Nilayam. The main yajna is a Rudra Homa, but along with it, Parayana, or reading of sacred texts like Ramayana, Bhagavata, Devi Bhagavata, Sundarakanda, Surya Namaskara with appropriate mantras, Sahasra Lingarchana, and so on are performed simultaneously. For the Sahasra Lingarchana, for instance, the priest would chant Rudram 21 times and make 1008 Shivalingams and arrange them in a sacred formation and offer worship. He would do this every single day of the Yajnam. He would start at 2 a.m. and go on till 2 p.m. Similarly, another priest would do continuous Surya Namaskars, chanting Aruna Prashnam. Swami would always praise the purity and penance of these priests. There would also be Devi Kalasham, representing the goddess, who would be worshipped with the chanting of the Lalita Sahasranamam, Lalita Trishati, Khadgamala, along with Shodashopachara Puja. In the later years, hundreds of enthusiastic students from Bhagwan's schools and colleges too would follow rigorous austerity and do Devi Mahatmyam Parayanam in the Purnachandra Auditorium. The 8th day of the Dashara festival is the Ayudha Puja day, when all the instruments of work are worshipped. On this day, Bhagwan would come to the garage and bless all the cars and vehicles which would be decorated with flowers. He would break coconuts as bhajans went on vibrantly in the background. The moment to watch out for on this day would be when Swami would ascend the golden chariot. Indeed, a sight for the gods. One highlight of the Vijayadashmi day for many years was Swami performing the Vibhuti Abhishekam for the silver idol of Shirdi Baba. Sometimes, before the Abhishekam, Swami would materialize a gem-studded crest jewel and place it on the idol's head, and it would stick as though fused with the statue. Once, on witnessing this act, Dr. Suri Bhagavantam, a close devotee who was also a great scientist, wondered how a stone got stuck to a metal. Swami looked at him and said, "If I can create it, I can also make it stick." At times, Swami would even materialize a Navaratna mala for the idol. From a downturned empty urn, Vibhuti would flow in cascades on the idol. And the moment Swami would pull his hands out, the flow would cease and then resume when he reinserts the hand. At times, along with the Vibhuti, turmeric and kumkum and even Navaratnas would flow. The elders, such as Professor Kasturi or Swami Karunyananda, would barely be able to contain the vigorous vibrations of the urn as this miraculous Abhishekam happened. Every day of Dashara was filled with cultural programs in the evenings wherein accomplished artists, poets, and musicians would get an opportunity to offer their talent as Bhagwan would gently swing on his beautiful jhola. Swami would take a deep interest in the offerings made by the students. That is how Dashara evenings would be enriched with Kavi Sammelans, Burra Kathas, melodies from Rama Katha, and so on. During the event, Bhagwan would give discourses on all days, reiterating the significance of the attitude of sacrifice, the worship of the Divine Mother, sadhana, and a spiritual life in general.
At the instance of
Swami
Bhagavan
would
Rama,
also bless a few Vedic scholars and learned devotees to
at the
speak,
coronation
which became the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha, another event symbolic of Dashara celebrations in Prashanti Nilayam. This event too had its sacred origins in the early 1960s. Swami was then in Rajamandri, the city on the banks of the river Godavari. Gathering a special group of pandits, Swami guided the boat driver to a dry patch of sand above the Dhavaleshwaram Anicut and sat down with the group. Swami spoke to the group about the state of the world and how India must guide it with the lamp of Sanatana Dharma. In that serene setting on the banks of Godavari, which has for eons fostered Vedic scholarship, Bhagwan declared, "I have decided to establish the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha an academy of Vedic scholars who will strive to awaken humanity to the need to attain the Prashanti, which has its nilayam in the Sanatana Dharma. The Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha has become an integral part of the Dashara celebrations in Prashanti Nilayam. Every evening of the 7-day Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yajna, talks on spiritual themes precede Bhagwan's benedictory message. Interestingly, Swami encouraged the young students of the university and devotees from across the world too to speak as a part of this Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha, reminding us that Vidvat Poshana was not restricted to fostering Vedic scholars, but nurturing the hidden scholarship in all and the desire to lead a life of meaning. On Vijayadashami, Bhagwan would stand right next to the sacred Yajna Kundam, glowing as the Veda Purusha himself, accepting the Purnahuti offerings. He would materialize the sacred Navaratnas, or 9 types of gems, and add them to the blazing fire. The sight of the Vedic Pandits encircling Swami and the Yajna Kundam is a blessing of a lifetime. After this glorious Purnahuti, Swami would personally bless all the devotees by sprinkling the holy water. The Sathya Mata has chosen to take the form of Veda Mata during the Dashara celebrations, protecting the Vedas and fostering and spreading Vedic knowledge. Swami had effectively transformed the Dashara celebrations into an intense period of sadhana and contemplation. As the devotees witnessed a scrupulously performed ritual, Swami's words repeatedly saturated their consciousness with the spiritual. During the 1992 Dashara, Swami reminded everyone,
Prakrita Shaktiye Durga, Sankalpa Shaktiye Lakshmi, Vak Shaktiye Saraswati. Kana mana prarthana హృదయ సంబంధమైనటువంటిదిగా ఉంటుండాలి. ఆ హృదయమే క్షీరసాగరం. ఆ క్షీరసాగరం అనేటువంటి స్థానం నుంచినే లక్ష్మి ఆవిర్భవిస్తుంది. కానీ లక్ష్మి ఆవిర్భవించేటప్పటికీ వాక్ శుద్ధి లభ్యమైపోతుంది. ఏది చెప్పినా కూడా అది సత్యమైపోతుంది.
Once, Swami said, "You would have grasped the essence of this festival if you understood what man should aspire for. Man should always aspire for not the temporary and the changing, but the permanent and the unchanging. That is divinity." For all of us, Dashara is an opportunity to adore our beloved Sa-ayi Mata. As much as all children looked up to Swami as a mother, he played the role of a mother to all, young and old. Swami had taken Professor Anil Kumar to Kodaikanal one summer. The lecturer was moved by witnessing the motherly love and concern that Swami was showering on his students during the trip. One day, Swami remarked to the students that there was one person in the group who was not partaking any of the prasadams that Swami was distributing, but was storing it in his luggage. With a mischievous twinkle, Swami said, "Boys, go check all the luggage." Professor Anil Kumar got up and said, "Swami, I know it is me you're referring to. I have 4 children. If I take these sweets home, they will be very happy to have Swami's prasadam. That's why I don't eat them here." Then Swami said most lovingly, "Just as you feel happy when your children have these sweets, Swami will be very happy when you have these sweets." Turning to the students, Swami instructed that going forward, Professor Anil Kumar be given 5 pieces of all prasadam, 4 for his children and 1 for him to have. One evening, Swami was seated on the banks of Chitravati with devotees, and Swami taught them a prayer to beseech the Divine Mother for grace. He said, "Pray in this manner. O Mother, we all dwell in your womb. The mother bears all the pain that the infant in the womb gives her. She does not wish ill at all. She wants the infant to be strong and healthy. So too, bear with us. We may cause you pain by our wrongs, our errors, our want of care. In many births, we have so much ill that we are now in the coils of karma. Pardon us, wish us well. As Durga, keep us safe. As Saraswati, teach us how to reach the goal. As Annapurna, feed us with good food for this body, mind, and spirit. Give us the eyes to see you as the Shakti that fills all things in all places." The Lalita Sahasranama that extols the mother describes her as Vishwagarbha, she who holds the entire universe in her womb. How fortunate are we to receive the love of this universal mother, this Satya Mata, who is above, below, before, behind, and all around us.